Welcome to the Miscarriage Rebellion. I'm Sam Payne, CEO and co-founder of the Pink Elephant Support Network.
And I'm Stacey June Lewis, counsellor, psychotherapist and broadcaster. This podcast is where we share stories of many Australians who have lost their babies to early pregnancy loss.
With evidence and empathy, we unpack the shame, blame and stigma and the lack of support that many face. This is a loss that has been silenced for too long. We deserve better.
We are here to normalise the conversation.
And we're here to make lasting change. In today's The Miscarriage Rebellion, we bring on the incredible Hailey. Hailey is the owner, founder of 3P production company based in Brisbane. They have been an incredible support to Pink Elephants. They're why you have this podcast in your ears. They provide the support to produce, edit, and all the things that go into making you be able to listen and access to this new support that Pink Elephants offers. Hailey is an absolute powerhouse of a woman. She has gone through life working hard and achieving her dreams. And then pregnancy loss was one of those things that you just couldn't control the outcome of. It's a story that so many of us will relate to, where for once we can't do anything to change the outcome. For once we can't work harder at it to try and achieve the dream of a baby in our arms. We literally have to go through this with our heart on our sleeves and hope for the best outcome that we can have. It's a heart-wrenching story. I'm sure that you will agree with me that Hailey has been incredibly brave and generous in sharing her experience for you all to listen to today. As always, reach out to Pink Elephants if you need support. But if you are ready to listen, let's take a dive into Hailey's story. Really, really excited to have you on the Miscarriage Rebellion, Hailey. You have been a long-time supporter of Pink Elephants in many, many ways. But for the listeners that don't know you and your experience, if you could start by sharing your journey of pregnancy loss and fertility challenges and let everyone know what that looked like for you.
Yeah, so my journey started in, funnily enough, COVID. You know, I'm really lucky. I had a little boy in 2013 called Dashiell, and he was perfect. And I was a very annoying person. I was one of those people that decided one day I was going to have a baby, and next month I was pregnant. And, you know, I hated being pregnant. When I was pregnant with my son, I just was one of those people that, you know, I did not embrace pregnancy at all. And in hindsight, I was, you know, incredibly naive thinking back. But anyway, I had him, and he was the most beautiful baby I ever saw when I gave birth to him, and he was a perfect baby, and we were super lucky, my husband Leon and I. And yeah, we were very much a one and done family. We were happy with our son, and he was great. And it's really funny because I actually don't think I thought I could love another human being as much as I loved my son. And I thought, that's it. That's enough. That's enough for me. So 2020 came around, and COVID hit. And it was actually the week that COVID got really bad, that week leading up to COVID. And when everything started shutting down and people started panicking, and, you know, the emails started going out, and I was in the middle of packing down my entire company at the time. Had about 15 people. And yeah, we had literally just packed up everything to go work from home on that Friday, the day that ScoMo did the announcement. And I thought, I haven't had my period for a while. That's really weird. I'll just go to the Night Owl and get a test. So anyway, I took it home and I put it in the drawer. This was 4 days later. I thought, I've got to do that. So took a test, and it was two big lines came up, and my husband was shocked. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was 39 years old at the time, and I thought, this is great. This is perfect. So, you know, the world was going to shit, and I was having this baby, and it was really happy time for 10, 11 weeks into that. So we went for our 8-9 week scan. Yeah. Perfect. Went to see the doctor that delivered Dashiell, and sat in the room, and we were all joking and laughing, and we were making fun of Leon because his greatest fear is having a daughter. He thought he was going to have a girl. And perfect heartbeat, everything was good. We went home and I had to book in for NIPT. So I would have been 11 and a bit weeks. And I remember the doctor said to me when he gave me the form after my earlier scan, he said, I'm just going to come back and scan you before you go to your blood test, just in case. I would hate for you to waste your money on this $600 blood test. And I thought that was so weird. I was like, why would you say that? That's weird. What's going to happen? And I'll always remember that. And he was like, yeah. And he didn't really go into it. He didn't say anything about age or anything like that. He was just very much, look, just in case. And I thought, what's going to happen? And it was really funny because actually that's the first time that thought ever crossed my mind. And I remember I rang my mum and I told her what the doctor said. I said, Mum, do you think I've got anything to worry about? She went, no, of course you bloody don't. That's what my mum used to say. She goes, no one in our family has miscarriages, which is it's how my mother was, and she would make us feel better. But, in hindsight, I found out there's been lots of miscarriages in my family and people and stillbirth, and people just don't don't talk about it. Yeah, so we went back to the scan and we all rocked in there, and it was COVID, so we had to take my son. He was 6 at the time, because you couldn't get babysitters yet because everyone's in lockdown. He said, okay, get up on the table. I said, yep. And yeah, he just, and I remember the last thing he said to my son, he goes, what do you think it is, Dash? Do you think it's a brother or a sister? Which one do you want? And Dash said, I want a sister, because he was obviously G'ing up his father. And yeah, he was scanning me, and he was a really beautiful, friendly doctor, and his face just completely just went really serious. And I was used to him joking around, and he said, it's not there anymore. And I said, what do you mean it's not there anymore? He said, the baby has no heartbeat. I'm so sorry. And it's really funny because when someone tells you something incredibly traumatic, I actually think your brain actually switches off, because my brain actually switched off for a good 30 minutes.
Fight or flight.
Yeah, and I really had trouble processing. I was laying there and I was trying to process what he just said, and I looked over to my husband, and my husband's face, I'll never forget it. He was just so upset for us. And I was thinking, what is wrong with you? Why are you upset? Like, my brain literally took... It was trying to catch up with what I'd just been told. And I just put my hand on my face and I just went, fuck. And anyway, so yeah, he turned off the machine, and I was just sitting there in shock. Like, I didn't cry, and I was just sitting there, and I was like, and I sat in the seat, and I was just sitting there, and the first thing I thought was like, fuck, how am I going to get this baby out? Like, I knew nothing about miscarriage, not one thing, and like I didn't know what, I mean, obviously I know what a pregnancy test was, but I didn't know what miscarriages were. I didn't know what a D&C was. I knew nothing. And he said, look, I'm going to have to send you down to the Q scan for a second opinion. And I said, why? You already know. Well, why do you need that? He said, it's like a technicality. We've got to send you down there. So it's really weird. So, you go in there really happy. They tell you something horrendous. You then have to go to reception. Yeah. The smiling receptionist is there, and you're like, so do you want me to pay? And she's like, no, you just go down. I had to tell my son what had happened in the hallway, which was difficult. He was upset. So anyway, we trottled down to Q scan, which is like a 2-minute walk down the road to the MARTA, and my husband couldn't come inside. He had to wait outside, and I was like, I'm okay, and I went into the Q scan waiting room, and I just burst into tears, and those poor women must see people like me daily. Multiple times a day, women like me rock out, and they know why you're there. Like, they've had the call. Yeah, I'd sit in the waiting room crying, And I still didn't really catch up at that stage. I thought they're going to scare me and this machine's going to be better, because I actually never saw my baby because my obstetrician had an old machine and it was always facing away from me. I heard its heartbeat, but I didn't see the baby until I went into that scan. And it's so weird. It was like a perfectly formed baby. It had arms, it had legs, it had a head. Like, it was weird. So, you know, I just, you know, I texted my sister from the bathroom and I told her what had happened, and I didn't want my mum to be upset. So I told my sister to tell my mum. And yeah, and then we went back to the doctor's office, and he was actually really good. He said, look, you know, you've got two options. You can go home and let nature take its course. He goes, I wouldn't advise that. He said, I can get you in for a D&C and I can book you in at 7:30 in the morning. Yeah. So this is on a Thursday and he was doing it the next morning. And I was just at that stage, I said, I want this done right now.
Yeah.
So, you know, you go home and that night was that night was pretty tough. And yeah, so we got booked into the Mater at 5 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. I got booked in with a lady having her cesarean, and it was really sad because, like, I've had a cesarean at the Mater, and I remember I had my son at 8:30 in the morning, and I had my D&C at 8:30 in the morning. So the timings all really match up because, that was me when I was having my kid, rocking up to the Mater, excited with my husband, having a Caesar. It is traumatizing, you know. Yeah. They put you in the maternity ward.
It's cruel. You
go to the maternity ward. I remember they put us in a room that faced inwards, so you can have rooms that face outwards into the city, and you can have rooms that face inwards into the glass corridors. So they book you in like you're having a baby, and they don't really know what you're there for. I mean, they're just doing their job. So they'll come in and they'll go, here's your menu, and there's the television if you want to watch TV, and here's your pamphlets. And you're like, yeah, I'm actually here for a D&C. I'm actually not pregnant. I'm not having a baby. Like, it's kind of obvious. And yeah, we had to go there 2 hours early. So literally for 2 hours, my husband and I just watched women walk off to have their kids all day.
You're in
through the glass
area.
windows. Like, we literally sat and watch women, and including the woman I booked in with, walk off to have the baby, because you actually walk down to the theatre when you're having a baby. But the mortifying thing is, when you have a D&C, they make you sit in a bed and they push you through the halls. And I remember I was so fucking mortified that I was laying in a bed being pushed through. It was almost like torture.
Yeah.
And I actually said to them, look, I don't want to get pushed in the bed. I want to walk. So yeah, that's and then basically you wake up from surgery and they set you home, and that's pretty much where I sat for 6 weeks by myself in my house.
Because they never gave you a pointer for support. They never told you where you could go to access.
No, not at all. You get given an aftercare pamphlet,
which is medical management, right?
And then your doctor will say, you know, you can come back and see me in 6 weeks. But you know, by 6 weeks, Sam, the damage is done.
Yes.
In 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, 6 weeks is too late. Like, I sat in my house for 6 weeks. I spoke to virtually no one. I had a couple of people who reached out. People didn't want to talk about it, and I can understand people don't want to upset you, but yeah, it was probably the worst 6 weeks of my life.
Yeah. There's a very real grief to you.
Yeah, and it's hard for my husband too, because he you know, he's a real practical fixer. He's an engineer, my husband, and he was like, well, what can I do for you? And there is nothing you can do. Like, it's very binary. You know, in fairness, a lot of people didn't even know I was pregnant. Mm-hmm. And then I was kind of sad that people didn't know I was pregnant, because then it was like, well, it didn't really exist, and it's just sort of, you just
it disenfranchises it further, right?
Yeah, and then you just get get on with it. But yeah, I think that and I'm, and I really got up into my head in those first 2 weeks. Like, you've got lots of things going on. You've got the hormone calm down, and, I went from being, almost 12 weeks pregnant to 0 weeks pregnant, less than 24 hours. Like, my body just would have been, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Just happened to me.
Yeah.
And then your brain's playing catch up, and you can't change any of it. Mm-hmm. And I'm very much an A-type personality, and if I want something, I usually get it, or I will find a way to make sure that I get it.
Yeah.
But, it's something like a miscarriage. It's like there is nothing you can do to change it or fix it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, again, also plays in against us in the medical system, right? Because there's nothing they can do to bring our babies back. So it's just medically managed.
Yes.
But then they forget about the emotional support and the lack of and the referrals that need to happen to ensure that you are not sat at home alone for 6 weeks dealing with your own grief perpetuated by silence, because community also doesn't know how to meet you. So people withdraw from you because they're scared of upsetting you, but actually then that silence becomes deafening and tells you that no one cares, and it just becomes this juxtaposition that plays out.
Yeah, and I really I really twisted that in those 6 weeks. I thought, no one cares, no one gives a fuck, no one's calling me, no one's speaking to me, oh, they don't care. And it just went over and over and over in a loop.
And we hear that so much. We know so many women that have that same loop going round and round and round again. And that's what the silence does. It's not your fault. It's what happens because we're isolated.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't eat. I lost 10 kilos in 6 weeks. I couldn't go to sleep. I would, take sleeping tablets and blast my ears with white noise just to go to sleep at night. And this probably continued for a good 4 or 5 weeks. And then the next part of it kicked in. I was like, right, I'm having a baby. God help everyone. Get out of my way. I'm having a baby. And my poor husband was just like, okay. And he would say to me, don't worry, you're going to get your baby. You're going to get your baby. But it was, and it's funny enough, like I did get pregnant pretty quickly afterwards. I literally got pregnant the next cycle. Yeah. And I was like, perfect. Bump in the road. We're good. We're back on track again. And I remember my husband was like, you're only going to be like 10 weeks behind. You're good. And there, miscarried again. I remember I was on a massive shoot. I work in a production company. And, started miscarrying in the middle of this friggin' shoot for a client. And I just thought, oh, God, this is just so frustrating.
Yeah.
So anyway, I ended up going back to the doctor, and I told him what had happened. And he said, I said, do you think I'm too old? And he said, you're only as old as you feel. And I said, okay, great. I said, I want to do IVF. And he goes, what day are you on? I said, I'm on day 3. He goes, right, you want to start today? I said, yep. And he was like, okay. And probably not the best way to go about it. But he literally wrote me up an IVF plan on the spot. He said, you're turning 40. You don't have time
and
to muck around.
And he knew you as a person.
And I was like, yep, I love that. And he knew I probably wasn't leaving without that anyway.
Yeah.
And he gave me the script. I went down to the chemist. I got those drugs. I went back. He jabbed me with the first one, and he said, here's your plan. I'll see you in a couple of days. And so I guess the point I'm trying to make is I went from baby loss, miscarriage, IVF cycle. Like, I literally did not give my brain a chance to stop and assess and go, okay, this is probably not the best approach. But anyway, that's first cycle, I thought, yep, this is cool, gonna have a baby IVF, piece of cake. They'll sort it out. There'll be eggs in there. I'll get a good one. Sent them off for testing. They're all shit. They all came back. None of them were viable.
And that's like kind of the loss, right?
That was meltdown mode, because that's when I thought, holy fuck, I might not get my second child. I don't know how I can process that, because that can't happen. But it might happen. So, round 2, same thing. They sent them off tests. I said, I'm putting one in, which is just wing it. And everyone's like, no, I don't know if that's a good idea. I said, yep, no. And we're talking back-to-back cycles. There's no month's break. I didn't have time. I was like, this is getting done. They put an embryo in. They sent the other one off for testing. It took. So, yep, pregnant again for the 3rd time in 2020. This is September, I think. And go repeat blood test, doubling, not doubling. And by that stage, I was getting really frustrated. And I went to the doctor's office and we were sitting there and I was like, this is not working. Need to just kill it and we'll go again. And in the meantime, the other test came back and the embryo wasn't viable. And that's the first time the doctor said, well, maybe you should try donor eggs. And I was like, yeah, great. We're doing donor eggs. Perfect. And my husband said, whoa. Yeah. I'm not doing donor eggs. I mean, if that point of someone had said to me, I'm going to give you a baby monkey and a baby monkey, I'll go, yeah, I'm having a baby monkey. That's a great idea. And my husband was like, everyone just stop. Can we just talk about the one you're pregnant with now that you are pregnant with? But my mind had already moved on. I was like, no, this is not working out.
You've catastrophized already because you're so used to the worst happening that you just go there already and you go into that survival mode already of, well, what next then?
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, he gave me the misoprostol in the room and I went home and took it. I took that tablet before I even hit the car. So and then it got to the point where I was like, this is not working. I need a new doctor. And as much as I love that doctor and he was such a beautiful man and he really tried for us, I was like, I'm not going to get here with you. So I ended up going to another lady who was completely different and she was very much into vitamins. She was into supplements. She was into just a whole heap of other stuff. You go to a doctor, they'll tell you something different. So anyway, she did round 3 and in December, I had a pickup in December and they almost didn't let me do it. Like they were like, if you don't get your period by the 1st of December, we're not doing you. And I was like, I'm going to get my period by the 1st of December. I reckon I got it. They said 12 o'clock cutoff. 11:30. I said, yep, it's here. Let's do it. So I literally just snuck in. And then they took me for a blood test. They're like, oh, your levels are high. I'm like, I'm not going to Christmas period. You are doing this pickup. And it's really lucky because that's the pickup that I had my one normal embryo out of 38. So 38 eggs they took over 3 rounds over 6 months and the only normal one was my son, which they put in March. So, I mean, it was bloody hard. Like, and I'm doing all of this while I'm trying to run a company, trying to be a mother to my 6-year-old. Seasons are like, it's a funny thing because, seasons, I'm a very, I take a lot of stock in spirits and seasons and all that kind of stuff. And, so I love spring because I had my children in spring. Yeah. And my children are born a month apart. And, I ended up having Pax pretty much on the same due date as my first loss. It kicked all it off, like literally to the week. So, it was kind of like sliding doors. I had this horrific year in 2020. And then in 2021, I had this beautiful baby. But then it's still the whole process of having my son and actually hitting all the same milestones as I've been through. Like that was also a lot to unpack.
Yeah. And it's also what I hear from your story is you've literally gone back to back to back to back to back. You've just gone massively with the forward of I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to have a baby. And you said it yourself earlier, is that lack of stopping and acknowledging what was happening to you in that moment and taking the space. And I think there's 2 things in that. I think there's that desire to have a baby that overcomes everything else and takes over your life in so many ways. And then I also think it's the way that because society doesn't validate early pregnancy loss in the same way as say a later term loss, and you're not given any advice really about trying to conceive again and what you should do for your emotional or mental health in that gap in between, that we just move on. We just keep going because we have this perception that having a baby in our arms will fix everything in a way.
People don't talk about it, but it's happening behind closed doors, hidden behind smiling faces. there are so many people suffering in silence right now, unable to access the support that they need and deserve, simply because they don't even know that there is support available. The Pink Elephants community is made up of people from all over Australia. Some come from the big smoke, others from the bush. Some of us have heaps of friends and family around, others have none. Some have lost babies at 5 weeks. Some had ectopic pregnancies. Some had multiple ultrasounds. Others only ever saw the 2 red lines on a positive pregnancy test. But we all have something in common. We have all lost a baby. We are all bereaved parents. There are estimated to be over 100,000 of us across Australia every single year. Please help us connect with these people to give them the support that they deserve. No one should have to lose a baby and be left on their own to navigate their grief. Help Pink Elephants support more bereaved parents. Visit pinkelephants.org.au.
I think I want to also talk and unpack a little bit about, what was that experience of that pregnancy after loss with Pax like for you? Once you'd got past those first 12 weeks, what did that carry on? Did the anxiety go all the way through? How was that?
Yeah, no, it was really hard because I think, I literally traumatized myself in 2020. My mental health, Sam, got that bad that, and this is really hard for my husband to listen to. I drive across a bridge every morning on my way to work, and, one morning, after that third thing, there was a massive fucking truck coming this way. I thought I could just drive straight into that truck and no one would give a shit. Yeah. That's how bad it got. And that actually frightened myself. Yeah. I honestly frightened myself. I remember it was like yesterday. And then from then on in, I took the tunnel because I did not trust myself driving across that bridge because I literally freaked myself out that much. Anyway, I went to work and held a meeting.
Pretended.
So it's, by the time you do get pregnant with your baby, you are so fucked up.
Yes.
That you it's everything is just times 10. Yeah. So, even, taking pregnancy tests, you take 50 of them. You're sitting there. You're going, oh my God, yesterday was dark and today's light. Like those fucking tests. Like seriously, they are literally like trauma sticks.
And they are. We shouldn't have to pay for them. They should be given to us for free.
No, they should. They should be subsidised. Waiting for your scan at 7 weeks, and I remember they rang me and they said, "Oh, it's really busy today. We're going to have to put it back." And I was like, "No. I'm coming at 1:00. You cannot make me wait till tomorrow. I cannot." And I burst into tears. And those poor receptionists, they're so lovely. So they fitted me in, and like even just hearing my son's heartbeat for the first time, my husband burst into tears because he just knew how much that meant for us. At that time. And I remember telling him, you need to take photos of this baby because I didn't have a photo of all my other babies. You need to take a photo. And that's kept saying to me. And my poor husband's there going, this iPhone.
Because you're not sure whether you were allowed.
I got it.
Yeah.
Waiting, having your 10-week scan where we had lost our last baby was traumatizing. I went to that scan bawling my eyes out. By the time every single scan, like scanxiety is a real thing. Like it is a real thing. And it's really scary. And
it's your mind again, doesn't it? It goes.
Yeah, and I told nobody. Not one person knew I was pregnant for the first 12 weeks. So I'm kind of like the problem, right? So I'm feeding into this 12-week rule where, I'm not telling anyone and we're keeping it a secret because, I just didn't want to tell people because I was already in that mindset, well, no one really cares. And if this happens again, then I will just be even more angrier than I was the last 3 times.
But I want everyone to hear that, no, you're not playing into the problem by not sharing your pregnancy. And I think that's really important because we talk about this 12-week rule And it's almost like we've gone the complete opposite now, and everyone feels the pressure to share their pregnancy from day one. And actually what's needed is to perhaps just share it with a chosen few, that if you do have a loss again, you've got a circle of support, you've got people who can be there for you. But it also needs to be such an individual and personal choice. Not everyone is ready to share a pregnancy, particularly not a pregnancy after loss, because of the anxiety that's riding through that. And you're almost in survival mode, right? You're just literally counting down the hours. Every time you go to the toilet, you're checking to see if there's bleeding. Yeah. Anytime there's an appointment, anytime you feel something slightly different, you're questioning everything. So I don't feel that there should be a pressure on us to break the 12-week rule when we're pregnant. I feel like that rule needs to be challenged, but I don't want you to think like that was something that you did wrong, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I'm really it's it's really, really hard. Like, you know, after you've had a miscarriage, and, you know, I was really lucky. Like, there are women who their only experience of pregnancy is after a miscarriage. Like, I'm so blessed and lucky that I was able to have a naive pregnancy where nothing was going to go wrong. And, you know, I'm actually really lucky to have that. And some people don't have that, which is, you know, it's just really heartbreaking. But, you know, and it didn't help the fact that all of these milestones are hitting on the exact same. You know, we went for our first disastrous scan in the 29th of April. I'm getting my 12-week scan at the end of April. You know, I didn't tell my son till I was almost 20 weeks pregnant. He was devastated last time. And, yeah, it's... you know, I struggled to look at baby things. I had switched off my social media for 12 months because I constantly got fed baby advertising. Yes. And you can't switch it off. No. You know, I had stopped talking to all of my friends. So even when I got pregnant, like, who was I going to tell? Nobody.
Yeah, because you've withdrawn.
Because I was just so horrible and mean to everybody. And that's, you know, that's probably my biggest regret, because, yeah, I have lost a lot of friends over this. Like, and so what I'm trying to say is, like, this shit impacts every single, it is literally like a bomb goes off in your life and it just splatters on everything and it affects everything. And it's not just about not having a baby at the end. Yeah. It's about, you know, your relationships with people. It's your relationships with your family. It's your relationships with your partner. It's, you know, how, you know, it affects your friendships with people. And, it's massive. Yeah. And it's not just about not having a baby. Like, people need to stop minimizing it. Go, well, you just had a baby, she'll have another one. Yeah. So it's, you know, I didn't buy a cot until I was 30 weeks pregnant. So, and in hindsight, like, now I feel like I've been robbed of that experience with my son, because now I wish I could take it back now that, you know, it did work out for me. But, you know, I did not believe I was having a baby even till the minute they took that baby out. Yeah. And I still have a video of my birth and just the terror of asking that woman, is my baby going to be okay? And she actually said to me, yeah, he's already crying. And I just burst into tears. And my husband burst into tears because he was the same. Like, he's traumatized as well.
Yeah. And I want to talk about the partner thing, but I also want to then highlight that part, what you just said, because people also have this false narrative that once you get past that magical 12-week mark, that then you can believe in the baby and then you can have a normal pregnancy. And what we actually see is the complete opposite of that this anxiety carries with us, not just through till the baby's in your arms, it can actually impact us when we've got the baby in our arms as well. Yeah. So I think that's really important to highlight.
It's crippling anxiety too. Like, and I used to poke Pax every day. I had a ritual. Every morning I would wake up and I'd poke that baby, and I would not stop poking it until it moved. That would be the most poked baby in Australia. Yeah. And I remember one, I think I was like 30 something weeks pregnant, and I poked him one morning and he didn't move. And I thought, oh my God. And I poked him and I rolled over and he did not move. And I got out of bed and I went downstairs and I thought, how the fuck am I going to tell my husband that this baby is dead? So I got the juice, and that kid did not move for an hour, and I literally lost my shit. So it's it's like, and that kind of stuff is
it's not seen by anyone else, right?
No, 6 o'clock in the morning sitting there by myself, I thought, I can't wake my husband up and tell him this. So it's and again, it's just stuff that you deal with by yourself. because otherwise people think you're crazy. And people naturally want you to be happy.
Yeah.
And they're just like, and I knew when I told people after my 20-week scan that I was pregnant, they were like, oh, thank God. Oh my God, she's going to have a baby. Everything's all good. That's just what people's natural reaction is, right? That's just what they.
And they kind of meet your pregnancy. I don't know if it's the same for you, but it was for me. I found it really hard when people met me with so much joy about a baby that I couldn't believe in yet. So they were so excited and like, oh, girl, boy, and names and la, 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 la. And I was just like, go away. Just go away. Get away from me. I can't even go there. And I remember just feeling like the moodiest, most horriblest person in the world because I just did not want to take any of that joy on, because for me, taking the joy on was then risking the thing that your heart is, whether you like it or not, is so already attached to. And I don't think people see that either.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
I'm a pretty like resilient person. I work in a business where I can absorb copious amounts of pressure, but that experience that I had in 2020 leading into 2021, like it was a bomb. And I also think it's the experiences that I had and the lack of support that I got directly after my miscarriage really was the what do you call it? The foundation of all the other bullshit that piled up on top of it. And I can't help but think if I'd have known where to get that support, if someone had given me that support at the start, maybe all of the other shit wouldn't have got to the point of where it got.
Compound trauma, right? As well.
Yeah, sometimes I look back and I think, I can't believe that's my life. And I still can't believe that's my life. It's definitely not somewhere that I ever thought I would particularly be.
Yeah.
I never thought that would happen to me. It had not happened to anyone that I know of that shared that experience with me. And I think, the one thing that I get, I don't know if joy is the right word, but, I just got to the stage where I was like, fuck it, I'm going to talk about this. And if it makes people feel uncomfortable, then they can feel uncomfortable. And you would probably get this as well. And then, people feel like they can talk to you about stuff. Like I've had people that I know share their IVF journeys with me. Yes. I've had people share their miscarriage journeys with me. And I know exactly what they're feeling. And so, I would have... And I think that's how I came across you. I remember I never listened to a podcast in my life. I never really used Instagram.
And look at us now.
And I saw a video of you on Instagram one day, and I thought, oh my God, I can't believe this lady is openly sharing her story about losing her baby. And I just thought that it just blew my mind that there are people out there that did that.
I remember that video because I remember we DM'd afterwards. That was my third miscarriage in 2020 as well.
Yeah. And
awful, right? But someone has to speak. Someone has to go first with this as well. They're talking about it, they're sharing it. I don't know, it didn't feel brave to me in the time. It felt natural and the thing to do. But from sharing that experience, the floods of DMs that then open up and the people that reach out to you and share their stories, and that's what you said in yours, that now people know that you're almost like a trusted person to go to. And I guess what's the next step on from that? How do we move it so it's not just put on the onus of those of us with lived experience to support those who are going through this? How do we normalize this conversation so that everyone knows how to support someone through loss? Because if it's 1 in 4 pregnancies or an estimated 100 to 150,000, we don't know the number again because we don't have the data, but babies lost every year to miscarriage, then everyone should know how to provide support, validation, empathy and connection for those that go through this. So how do we move to there from just those with lived experience helping each other? So if you look back at your experiences, what was that one thing that if was different would have made a huge difference to you? What would you change within the system now so that no one goes through it in the same way that you went through it?
I think definitely the one thing I would change is I would like to see women, when they experience a miscarriage, get access to support as soon as possible. I think that's the one lesson in my fabulous experience that I had with baby loss, because the sooner that you can get to women, even just tell them about hotlines and organisations such as the Pink Elephant Foundation. I had no idea. Like, if someone had have handed me a Pink Elephant pamphlet that day back in 2020, my experiences, and it turned out okay for me. But what if it didn't turn out okay? And there was many times where I pretty much thought, no, this is it. This is not gonna be okay. I just would love to see. I would love to see a Pink Elephant pamphlet in every obstetrician's office. I actually don't know why there isn't one.
Yeah.
All the obstetricians that I go to, I go, hey, have you heard about this? Heard about this organisation? You get a pamphlet for every other fucking thing. Like, why can't you have a Pink Elephant pamphlet in there? So, and I would like people to really understand what miscarriage can do to a person's mindset.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about having a baby.
Yeah.
It's about all the other shit that goes with it. It's about, it's about, like I said before, how you interact with people, how you see people, how you are with your family, with your husband. Like, it's all that together. It's not just about having a baby.
Yeah.
Because, I think, most people will probably go on to have a baby, God willing, right? So it's about all the other shit that goes with it.
Yes.
That's what I want people to understand. So whether, you can make a pamphlet for that, I don't know.
I think it's more than a pamphlet. It's funding as well, right? It's having the capacity and the resources to ensure that each person who has a loss is given basically a bereavement pathway as options for support. And there's more than just Pink Elephants as well, but being pointed to support from a medical professional. It says this experience is worthy of support. Here's where you go. It's okay to grieve the loss of your baby, versus leave hospital without a baby in your arms, not pointed to for support. There's silence around miscarriage and you're told, oh, well, you just get on with it. You just try and have another baby. It's common. Off you go. You'll be fine. And so then you isolate yourself in your grief and you don't access support, which we know from research leads to poor mental health outcomes. And it leads to things like you talked about, which are devastating, but suicidal thoughts. And there is, I believe, and I know from evidence as well, that we can do so much more with early intervention that can ensure that women don't get to that point, and we should be doing so much more to make sure that they don't. I can't thank you enough for sharing that experience publicly, because I think it will help to change the narrative and to make a difference. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Today's episode may have brought up some feelings for you that you need some support around. That's totally okay. Head to pinkelephants.org.au to find access to our circle of support, your safe space where you can be met with empathy and understanding throughout all of your experiences of early pregnancy loss. We're here for you. You are not alone.
If you enjoyed listening to the Miscarriage Rebellion, please help us by leaving a 5-star review wherever you listen to podcasts. The Miscarriage Rebellion is a Pink Elephants podcast produced by our friends at 3P Studio.